you're also on Australian Idol. Tell us about that and what did you do on it?
Yeah, well, I guess when I got approached to go on the show, I was still doing, my own gigs, and I'd already had sort of another lucky break before I went on the show, which is a whole other story. But I got to open for Bryan Adams, who was another big artist when we were growing up. It was a really special opportunity. But I'd sort of done that, and so going back to Idol, I was like, do I want to go on a reality TV show? I wasn't really sure if that was the right thing, and I think initially I turned it down, and then 12 months later the producers contacted me and said, have you thought about it again? We'd love to get you on. And enough, friends and family said, well, why don't you just go and audition and see what happens?
Yeah.
And I went along, didn't intend to get through, and I was lucky enough to make it through, and it was pretty nerve-wracking actually from memory. And then I was lucky enough to get through to the top 100, and we went down to Sydney, and then they narrowed it down to the top 24, and then I was lucky enough to make the top 12, and then that was when Idol was on
Really
TV.
big.
It was huge, and your life changes. Like you go from 1 week being in the top 24, and we were in Sydney, and you could walk down the street, nobody knows who you are, and then 1 week later you're on billboards and on the back of buses and in every magazine, and we were living in some mansion in Sydney, and we had it was so funny, like we had butlers and we had security,
gosh,
and getting driven around in cars, and it was a really interesting experience, because I think I'm still mates with everyone from that year in the top 12, and I think some would admit that they thought, well, this is what life's going to be like now. We've made it. We're living in mansions. We're getting all this stuff, and I was lucky enough that because I was a little bit older, I sort of knew this is temporary. Let's enjoy it while it's here, but this is not what it's going to be like for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
So but it was a really good experience, that's for sure.